Destination Fire. A Fire in Time, a story by Philip Levine with Robert Beattie as Q Barnaby, fire investigator.
Di! Here a minute, love.
You call, Mr. Vickers?
Yes, I did, love. Look, these dresses been inspected, have they?
I think so. Labels are all in.
Oh, then shove the rail down the other end, would you? It's clapping up the gangway.
Oh, don't blame me. There's no room to move. Time we sold the stuff, isn't it? Summer's nearly over.
You do as you're told and shift it.
Hey, that's nice.
I know what it is. Now, come on, hurry it up.
Slave driver. Oh, I meant to say Mr. Chesney's looking for you.
Oh, thanks, love.
Oh, Vic, come in and close the door. Would you like a drink?
No, thanks, Ches. Need a clear head to manage this place.
Would you mind if I do?
Who am I to mind? You're the boss. Well, how'd you get on with that overseas buyer?
Well, she didn't say yes, and she didn't say no. It's a big order. She's got to wire to Melbourne.
Well, if that stuff doesn't shift now, it never will.
This damn weather. Can you blame them for not buying summer dresses?
Well, we've got 15,000 garments down there. Stop production. Lay everyone off.
No, I must keep going. Look solvent, that's the secret.
Well, I hope you're covered for any trouble.
How do you mean, trouble?
Well, burglary, fire. I mean, we're carrying twice our normal stock.
Yes, that's a good point, Vic, yes. I'll attend to it right away. Well, as you can see, Mr. Pollard, special consignment for a big store in Melbourne. Just tying up the final details.
What's the total value?
At cost?
Yes.
25,000.
Your present policy's for 10.
It'll be shipped out by the end of the month. Can't you cover me just till the 31st?
Oh, yes, I don't see why not. I'll confirm it in writing.
Oh, thank you.
But any further increase, and I'll have to refer it to the head office.
I'm off now, Mr. Vickers.
Check the irons, Di.
Yes, and disconnected the plugs.
Good girl. Here, you're looking very chic.
Oh, thanks.
Here, Di. Fancy some supper?
With you mean? Oh, love to. Oh, well, I can't tonight, though. Mum's expecting me.
Well, how about tomorrow?
Yeah. Yeah, stop it.
Go on, don't pretend you don't like it. Better run along. See you tomorrow.
Night.
Night, love.
Oh, really, Vic, I wish you wouldn't. Not in the factory. It's not good for discipline.
Don't worry, they do as they're told.
Yes, I'm sure they do.
Work hard, play hard, that's me.
Well, I hope you've been saving hard, too. Yes, next week may see your last pay packet, from me anyway.
Oh, no luck with that buyer?
She did a deal with Davis and Penrose, bought their entire stock. Hadn't the decency to let me know. I'll be lucky if I can meet the rent and wages next week.
Really as bad as that, eh?
Worse. I still owe a few hundred on the fabric.
Do you?
Yes, there's no way out of this one, Vic.
Well, I wish I could help.
It's not your worry, Vic. My business, my headache.
Yes, but I was hoping, well, that partnership. Why do you think I've been putting in 60 hours a week here? For the fun of it?
No, but...
All right. I've no capital tied up, but, well, I've poured my life into this place.
Yes, I know. I'm grateful. Well, maybe I'll start up again someday.
Yeah, with what? Who'll lend you a bean after this?
Oh, it's not the first time I've got my fingers burnt.
How do you mean?
Well, years ago, in partnership, lost everything. But I got it going again.
What happened?
We had a fire.
Yes, they often happen, don't they?
Oh, no, this was an accident.
And, how about another accident?
Oh, no, Vic, that's not for me.
Look, you won't have to do a thing. Leave it to me. Oh, it'll take a little time to work out. All you have to do is to keep this place running. And if you can, get that policy increased.
All right. As you say, what have I got to lose?
Mind you.
Maybe for you, Val. Got a call first thing from Osborne.
Oh, I know. Crown Insurance meeting at 10 o'clock.
Uh-oh. Second sight again.
No, he came here.
Who?
The unbearable Osborne. He thought your office and you, I gather, thought his.
So I've been and gone, and he's been and gone. Hmm?
He's been, but not gone. I buried our arch enemy under a pile of magazines in your office.
Well, you're worth your weight in gold.
I never tell by my pay packet.
That goes for most of us. I'm sorry I'm late, Mr. Osborne. Bit of a mix-up.
My damn fool secretary.
Oh, please don't take it out on her. It's probably my error, and mistakes will happen.
And you're telling me if they didn't, I shouldn't be here.
Now, Mr. Osborne, my time's precious, so if you could come to the point, where was the fire?
Well, there hasn't been one yet. You see, our policies with a dress manufacturer in the East End, near Cable Street. Chesney Gowns Limited, run by a man called Albert Chesney. He rents 3 floors of a 4-storied building. It used to be a hat manufacturer.
You did say rent, did you?
Yes.
So Chesney's nothing to gain by the actual building going up.
No, but his stock's insured for $40,000.
All dresses?
By now outdated and completely unsaleable in this country.
Well, if he's suspect, why cover him for such a large amount?
Look, I'm coming to that. He's usually covered for around $10,000. Well, that's reasonable for a firm that size. Then there was some order pending, so we increased it to 25. 10 days ago, he asked for an increase to 40.
Did he?
The matter was referred to head office, and in error, it was endorsed by some damn junior clerk, and now we're stuck with the policy till the end of the month.
7 days to go.
Yeah, it wouldn't take 7 seconds to strike a match.
And if he does, you'll be on the carpet, won't you? Up before the board.
What?
Well, the error originated in your department. But by coming here, you've spread the responsibility more evenly.
Not at all. You're retained by us for investigation and inspection. And that's what I'd like you to do. Inspect the place. See if there are any infringements. Anyway, your turning up there might deter him.
I wouldn't bank on that if I were you. I'll park on that vacant lot by the phone box, Val.
Good idea. Then if I need to call Alec, it would be a long trek. That's the factory opposite. Hive of activity. What do they make?
Summer dresses.
Bit late in the season. Hot spell's over.
Osborne has the feeling it's about to start.
Oh.
Come on, let's go across.
Vic, he's here. That chap from the insurance.
Calm down. Just a routine inspection. If anything, it's to our advantage.
How'd you make that out?
Well, don't you see? When he's done his inspection and found everything in order, well, it's on record, isn't it?
Yes, but I hate questions. It's bad enough when I've got nothing to hide. I'll put my foot in it, I know it.
No, you won't. Be natural and friendly, won't bite. And when he's through, hand him over to me. I'll show him round.
Oh, would you, Vic? Yes?
Oh, some people for you, Mr. Chesney, from the insurance.
I'll show him in, Di. I'll disappear, but I shan't be far away. Just shout.
This way, please.
Excuse me.
Certainly. Mr. Chesney?
Yes, thank you, Di.
My name's Barnaby. This is my secretary, Miss Crane.
Hello.
Can I offer you something now? A drink, a cigarette?
Not for me, thanks.
The little lady, perhaps.
No, thank you.
I never touch them either. Well, now, what can I do for you?
Well, this is merely a routine inspection.
Routine, you say, but in all my years with your company, they've never inspected the place, except on the renewal date.
Under a certain figure, we don't bother, but on higher policies, it's the usual practice.
Oh, I see, yes. Well, then, let me hand you over to my production manager, Mr. Vickers.
Well, before you do, I have a few questions.
Oh, have you? Well, fire away.
You occupy the ground floor, first and second.
Yes. Top floor's empty and nothing to do with me.
I see. You're carrying quite a large stock at present.
Oh, but I'm not over-insured. I promise you every penny's there. Your district and superintendent's been round. He'll tell you. And your head office okayed the policy.
Yes, well, when do you hope to ship this stock?
Well, I'm not a prophet, Mr. Barnaby. Buyers fly in daily from all over. When the right offer comes along, it'll go. Until then, it stays.
Now, on the question of security...
Security?
Well, you could be burgled, you know.
Oh, yes, but I checked the place before I leave, and there's only one door.
You lock up personally?
Oh, always.
Double locking?
Yes, your company insisted on it.
Well, it does help. They may get in, but they can't get the stuff out through the front door.
I have a job with my machines.
Oh, how many keys are there?
Oh, just the one. I've got it. Another at the bank if that one goes astray.
Oh, fine. Well, I'm ready to look around.
Right. Vic,
Yes, Mr. Chesney.
could you take Mr. Barnaby and the little lady on a tour of inspection?
With pleasure, Mr. Chesney. This way, please, sir.
Up.
You will observe, Mr. Barnaby, those large metal bins placed on each floor for the disposal of cotton waste and general rubbish.
The floors are swept regularly.
Morning and afternoon, and bins emptied every evening under my personal supervision.
The machine oil, where's that stored?
Oh, in here. Special storage room for adhesives and oil. No native lights. And smoking's out everywhere, except the offices and canteen. And the staff, from Mr. Chesney to the youngest junior, know their fire drill backwards.
I see you have a number of large pressing irons.
Well, we can hardly dispatch our goods in a creased condition, can we?
But you're following the regulations.
To a T, I promise you. Oh, hang on. Di, here a second, love.
Yes, Mr. Vickers?
Miss James looks after the irons. Please do question her, Mr. Barnaby.
Thank you. Miss James, it's your job to see they're switched off, is it?
Yes. I check 'em lunchtime and evening, like second nature.
And what do you do exactly?
Well, it's my job to make tea, sweep up and shift stock.
No, Di. With the pressing irons.
I see the switches and pilot lights are off. See that on the metal stands and no odd bits of material lying about. And then I disconnect the plugs from the mains.
Oh, thank you, Miss James.
Oh, any time.
You'll notice, too, the fire-resisting doors, Mr. Barnaby, which I personally close as I leave with Mr. Chesney.
But you've no sprinklers?
No. With such a small area, it wouldn't be economical. Your district superintendent agreed.
Yes, I believe.
Now, is there anything else I can show you?
Well, I'd just like to check the wiring and the fuse boxes. Then I think I can be on my way.
With the exception of the sprinklers, Q, it's about as fireproof as you could hope for.
Yes. Have you got Osborne's number with you?
Uh-huh.
Look, ring him from that box, will you? And see if he's at his office. I'd like to look in on him on my way back.
There they go, Ches. And I'm sure he's given us 10 out of 10.
Think so?
Yes, bet we're more fireproof than brigade headquarters.
Yes, but they're suspicious, Vic. Make no mistake.
Well, they're bound to be, increasing to 40,000. But by sending him here, they blundered.
How do you mean?
Well, his report's better than having money in the bank.
Oh, yes, I see. But how will you start it?
Eh?
The fire.
Fire? Oh, I don't think we'll be having a fire.
What? But you said...
I said you'd collect the insurance money. And you will.
Well, how can I without a fire?
Ever read a Bible, Ches? Genesis, I think it is, chapter 6 and 7.
Bible? You read the Bible?
Me? Oh, no. Passed by the Sally Ann the other night. Gave me an idea. Haven't quite worked it out yet, but as soon as I have, I'll let you know. So don't you worry.
Here's my inspection report, Mr. Osborne.
That was quick.
That factory's as well organized as an oil refinery.
Look, Barnaby, did you have to put this report in writing?
Look, you wanted an inspection report. You've got it. I agree it was a bad move, but you insisted.
But if there is a fire now, we'll have a job to prove negligence.
The only negligence so far has been in your department. If there is a fire and it's deliberate, then it'll be my job to prove our...
Night, Maud. Peggy. Night. Here, Vic, where are we going tonight?
Oh, love. Awfully sorry. Something's cropped up. Last minute rush. I've got to stay.
Well, can't I help?
Yes, you can, by running off home.
Oh, but if you're on your own...
But I'm not. Chesney's here.
Oh.
So you better go now. But it's definite date for tomorrow. You can get all dressed up and I'll take you somewhere special.
Well, I promise.
Now, off you go.
Good night, Vic.
Night, love.
Everyone gone, Vic?
Yes.
Now, what was all that about the Bible?
Oh, I heard one of these Salvation Army blokes. And I will cause it to rain upon the earth for 40 days and 40 nights.
Noah's Ark.
Yeah, but I shouldn't think we'll need more than 40 minutes.
For what?
Your insurance. Now, let's take it in stages, shall we?
Right.
I'll pick up Di at her place around 7 tomorrow. We're going up west, so we'll be cutting down the turning opposite. I'll pretend I've seen some smoke and get her to stay put in the car. Then I'll break in.
Break in?
Through one of the ground floor windows. If you go to the top floor, it's open, and there's piles of old felt up there left by the hat firm.
Yes, but
Now, I put a match to it, and the moment it's well away, nip down to the office and call the brigade. When they arrive, they'll let rip with the hoses, and down will come the water and ruin your stock.
Oh.
Well, who can blame you? Wasn't a fire on your premises, was there?
Vic, you're a genius.
Yes, I hope you remember it.
Oh, now, 1 minute, though.
Yeah?
Well, why break in to phone? Why not use the call box opposite?
Oh, but I tried. Out of order. Or it will be. Vandals. It's always happening.
Oh, yes, I see. But I'm still worried about you breaking in.
Why?
Well, coppers are always strolling by. If one of them sees the broken window, they might catch you upstairs, red-handed.
Yes, Jez, that is a point. Look, I'll tell you what. Get your accountant here tomorrow and persuade him to go back to your place for a drink.
Yes, but he might
some
not.
papers you have at home or something. You lock up as we leave, but slip me your keys. After I phone the brigade, I'll phone you. Now, if you can keep your accountant with you, you'll have a perfect alibi. And when you arrive back, well, it shouldn't be too difficult to slip the keys back to you.
No, but you'll still have to break the window, won't you? I mean, otherwise they'd know that I've given you the keys.
Yes, of course.
But they can tell, can't they? I mean, if you break a window from the inside, there's glass on the pavement.
I'll open the window first so the glass is on the inside.
Yeah.
Now, any more queries?
Di. Now, is she really necessary?
Look, the moment I'm through in here, I'll get her out of the car. She'll see the smoke. And you can bet your life she'll say she saw it when I did. Oh, I know women. They love to get in on the act. So what do you say? Jez, do we go ahead?
Well, as I said the other day, there's no other alternative, is there?
How'd you like my hair too, Vic?
You look a real treat, Di.
Bit of all right yourself, eh?
Here, now, careful. Got to keep my eye on the road.
Then what you looking up there for? That's not the road.
Yeah.
Huh?
Did you see that?
What?
Smoke from our factory, top
Oh.
floor. Smoke.
Cool.
No, you stay here, Di. Don't want the car pinched. I'll just go back and take a look. Can't take any chances.
Nice evening, Bert.
Fair, I suppose, George. Be some rain later on.
You think so?
Yes, a bit cloudy over to the west. Hey, George, is that smoke or what?
Where?
Chesney Gardens. They on overtime. Look, George, you check up. I'll call the brigade.
Okay.
Hello? Anyone there? All right. Coming.
Hey, you got a fire. Up top.
Yes, I know. I'm manager here. Happened to be passing, saw the smoke, tried the box opposite, but no good. So I broke in, called the brigade and my boss. They're on their way. Hello, Mr. Chesney. So glad you're here.
Hello, Vic.
Quick, shove these keys in your pocket.
Everything goes smoothly.
Like clockwork. They've pumped in so much water I should think the stock's floated away. Just the keys I was worried about. But now, we're safe.
Well, there's hardly any damage to the structure, Val.
No, the floor's barely charred.
This pile of felt was the culprit.
How did it catch alight?
You tell me. Certainly nothing volatile. There's no petrol or paraffin. The place was unoccupied, so there's no one to question. A few of these vents were open. Could have been a spark from the railway.
You really believe that?
No, but how do we prove otherwise?
Chesney's stock, it's ruinous, but...
Completely. But not by fire, by water. So it's difficult to accuse them of arson.
You haven't seen anyone yet.
No, they're due here shortly. But before they do arrive, I want a word with that constable.
Oh, yes, Mr. Barnaby. I was on the beat with Constable Lawson. Spotted the spoke at exactly 7:40. Lawson nipped out of the police box and I tried the door. Vickers opened up, said he'd call the brigade and his employer.
Has he arrived, Mr. Chesney?
Oh, yes. There he is, over there.
Oh, yes, oh, yes.
I'll be around if you need me again, sir.
Well, thank you very much, Constable. Mr. Chesney, have you got a moment?
All the time in the world now. Stock's ruined and the place is a complete shambles. I've laid everyone off for the time being. I hope there'll be no trouble with the insurance.
Why should there be?
Oh, I know what happens when large claims are made. Someone always points the accusing finger.
Well, I came over merely to ask who locked up last night.
Well, I did as usual. I left with my accountant. He came home with me. And we were both there when Mr. Vickers phoned.
Yes, Mr. Barnaby. I was with him and his accountant when he locked up. Went home to change and then collected Miss James.
Now, you say you saw smoke as you turned left at the bottom down here.
Yes, saves all the traffic if you cut off there.
Oh, yes.
Anyway, the moment I saw it, I left Di in the car and raced to this phone box. Damn thing had been wrecked. Well, I had to do something quick, didn't I? So I broke in and called the brigade and Mr. Chesney. Then, as I was leaving, this copper arrived. There's Miss James now, if you want to talk to him. Di, here, love.
Here, Vic. All about you in the paper.
Yes, I know.
Pity there's no photo.
I'll take a lousy one anyway. Look, Mr. Barnaby, can I leave you for a sec? Mr. Chesney's waving it.
No, go ahead.
Thanks.
Now, Miss James, Mr. Vickers picked you up at 7:30?
Yes, we were on our way up west. And then suddenly we saw smoke.
You say we. You saw it too, did you?
Oh, well, yes. Pouring out of the top floor it was. See it for miles.
But you're sure you saw it before Mr. Vickers stopped the car?
Well, of course we did. Otherwise he wouldn't have stopped, would he?
You're still at it, Q?
Yes, I must have sifted every ounce of debris here.
Is it worth it?
No, not a match, not a cigarette, no evidence of a candle or any device. The chances of my proving arson are absolutely nil.
Well, perhaps it wasn't arson.
Oh, they're guilty. You know it, I know it, and they know it. But try and convince the jury.
Yeah, one thing does bother me, Q.
What's that?
If Vickers did set a light to that, but why call the brigade right away? Why not just leave the building?
It's very risky.
Why?
First, the break-in would look suspicious. Secondly, there's a police station a few minutes away. You might have been seen leaving.
Which reminds me, it's time you left. We're due at Osborne's office in 15 minutes.
Well, that should be a treat.
Here you are, Barnaby. Chesney's claim form was delivered late this afternoon by recorded delivery.
He didn't waste much time, did he?
I suppose the entire stock is ruined?
Yes, that fabric would shrink at the sight of water.
The board's very unhappy, I can tell you.
So would I be if I had to cough up 40,000.
I'm referring to your inspection.
Come again?
Well, you should have examined the top floor.
Look, my brief wasn't to inspect the structure. Just the contents insured under the policy. I'm retained to investigate fires, not prevent them.
And for your retainer, we expect results.
Oh, I see. Deliver the goods or I'm out on my ear. Is that it?
Couldn't have put it better myself.
Well, this case isn't closed yet, Mr. Osborne. But when it is, I'll promise you one thing. I'll be lighting a bonfire of my own with your contract.
But you're not bothered, are you, Q? I mean, you're retained by a dozen other companies.
I just hate being used as a scapegoat. I wish I had examined that top floor.
Oh, nonsense. Every time you do an inspection, you can hardly examine the place next door. Honestly, I'm surprised you didn't belt him one.
I was tempted, believe me.
Well, I wish I had been there. Oh, if only you could just solve this one. He'd be round on his hands and knees. And I would refuse to let him in. He could hammer for all he was worth. The latch would remain securely and firmly locked. Oh, come on, Q. Say something. Let Rip get it out of your system.
I think I have. I think I've got it.
Got what?
The key to that fire.
Oh, at Chesney's?
Yes.
Well, I didn't give you the answer this time.
But you did, you know. Now, listen. This will take careful timing. But you've got their home numbers, have you? Vickers and Chesney?
Yes.
Good. Well, first I'll ring Vickers and arrange to pick him up. Then I want you to call Chesney.
But I'm still not sure why we've come back here, Mr. Barnaby.
Oh, it's these tiresome reports, Mr. Vickers. A load of red tape. I have to relate things step by step, you know.
The factory's closed when you left Mr. Chesney locked up.
Well, all to the good. I want to enter exactly as you did last night.
But the window's boarded up.
Now, don't worry. We'll soon shift that. There. Wasn't difficult, was it?
Well, if we get nicked, don't look at me. Now what?
Let's go through it slowly. You went upstairs, then saw the smoke, came down again, phoned the brigade and Mr. Chesney. Then, as you were leaving, the constable arrived.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, how about that for timing, huh?
It's your secretary.
Is Mr. Chesney with her?
Yeah, just getting out of the car. Shall I let him in?
Would you?
Sure.
Well, what's wrong, Mr. Vickers?
Can't open the door. Chesney double-locked it as he went out.
Then how'd you open it last night?
What?
You heard me. How did you open it last night for the constable?
If
If you came through the window, as you said, then that door would have still been double-locked. And you could never have opened it from the inside.
Yeah, but
but you came through the door, didn't you, with Chesney's key, and he gave it to you. Well, talk of the devil.
Yes, Mr. Barnaby, did you want to see me?
Ches, he's...
Oh, what's wrong, Vic? What's going on?
I'll leave Mr. Vickers to explain that. There'll probably be a call from the police, I should think. But one thing I do know, there'll be no check in the post from Crown Insurance.
That was Robert Beatty as Q Barnaby and Gudrun Ure as Val in A Fire in Time, written by Philip Levine. Destination Fire. The Sound of Fire, a story by Philip Levine with Robert Beatty as Q Barnaby, fire investigator.
To 'em. You were fab, Johnny. Great. They loved you.
Told you, didn't I? Will you listen to that?
How about a TV? Think you can fix something?
Oh, sure, Johnny. Once you're in the charts...
Yeah, but it's a matter of getting there. I need the right number.
We'll find you one, tape it ourselves, and whip it along to the recording companies.
What about that new American hit?
Already recorded. Marty Brown.
Oh, couldn't you have got in first?
Now, be realistic, Johnny. I'm new to the business like you are. Think back. 3 months ago, you walked into my recording studio to make a tape. Now, if I hadn't had faith in you, think I'd have invested a small fortune in you? New guitar, clothes, photographs. I've spent hundreds on publicity.
Well...
And you've got the use of my flat. What more can I do? I got you this booking, didn't I?
Middleston.
Well, like I said, it all takes time and capital.
You get your 50% cut, don't you?
Be a long while before my investment's repaid. You run me into the red, Johnny. But I'm not complaining. So be a little patient, eh?
Okay. Where's the next date?
In town. A small club in Acton. The loot's not too hot, but I'm hoping to get a few of the TV people along.
Yes? Yes, can I? Oh, hello, Johnny.
Hi, Sue.
I am privileged. A kiss from the great Johnny Seaton himself.
All right, you can cut that out. Where's Mitch?
Oh, down in the basement, Studio 1. Recording machine's gone wrong.
Oh, again? Well, get hold of an electrician.
They like to be paid.
Like that, is it? Well, what's wrong with the machine?
Oh, I don't know. Something about a fuse and a transformer. You any the wiser?
Yes, I am.
Oh, are you now?
Well, it may surprise you to know that I was once an apprentice electrician myself.
Oh, I can't imagine you in a pair of overalls.
That's not a bad gimmick. Me and a group dressed in greasy overalls.
Yes. You could call yourselves Johnny and the Boilermakers.
Yeah. No, thanks. You say Mitch is down in the studio?
Yes, he's in number 1.
Hello, Mitch.
Oh, hello, Johnny. Be with you in a sec.
Oh, what's the trouble?
I think the transformer's gone.
And change it.
Lend us a few quid and I would. By the way,
Got you a date in Bradford on the 3rd?
Signed the contract?
No, it's on my desk, waiting to go off.
Then scrap it.
How do you mean? Scrap it?
Well, look, there's no point in beating round. I've had an offer from Bert Drobick.
But you're already signed to me.
I know about that, but... Oh, let's face it, Mitch, you're just not big enough. Drobick's got all the names. He's in with all the recording companies. Already he's got a string of dates lined up.
But you can't take them. Not without my permission.
Well, let's come to some arrangement.
Sure, I'll sell him the contract.
Will you?
But it'll cost him 20,000.
20? Oh, you're mad or something?
That's what I think you're worth, Johnny. Or will be in time.
But he'll never pay that.
Then you'll have to be patient, Johnny boy. You're tied to me for another 5 years.
You're making a habit of it, aren't you, Johnny?
Eh?
Working late.
Oh, well, if Mitch can't get me a number, Sue, thought I'd write my own.
Oh, that piano needs tuning.
Yeah.
Mitch is gone. Why don't you use number 1 studio?
No, I'm okay in here.
So, still won't release you?
Nah. Tried everything. Not a hope legally.
If only he could get you a recording. There's a great number I heard, just you, called, I Know You're Not Alone. You know, this girl phones her boyfriend, but she knows he's not by himself.
How?
I don't know. Can hear her breathing, I suppose. Here. That's the first time I've seen you smile for days. Don't tell me I've given you an inspiration.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, you have.
Huh?
Tell me, you busy tonight, Sue?
Oh, not specially.
Well, look, I'd like to put in another couple of hours more work. Then maybe I could give you a ring.
What time?
Oh, about 8. Suit you?
Oh, fine. Oh, but you won't make it any later, will you, Johnny? Hello?
Oh, Johnny here.
Oh, not still working.
Nah, just about to leave. It's just 8. I should be with you by 15:15.
Oh, no sooner. Just got out of a bath. I'm not dressed yet.
Oh, hurry it up. I thought we might go...
Johnny? Johnny, are you still there?
Yeah. Yeah, hang on a second. I can smell something funny.
Oh, what do you mean?
Dunno. Burning, I think.
What?
Yeah, there's some smoke coming from number 1 studio. Hang on, will you?
Johnny? Johnny, are you there? Johnny! Johnny, what's happened? Johnny! Johnny, can you hear me?
Oh, I can't even get my coat off. Hello. Quentin Barnaby's office? Crown Insurance. You arrived yet?
I have. Hello, Barnaby here.
Good morning, Barnaby. This is Morgan.
Ah, I thought it might be. What's the trouble?
There's been a fire.
Well, I gathered that. Who's claiming what?
Well, it's a trifle complicated. I think you could drop by head office.
Not before 10:30.
Oh, that'll be fine. I'll be expecting you.
Well, don't forget the red carpet, will you?
Here's a policy, Barnaby.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan.
It's for number 40 Denman Street, just off Charing Cross Road.
Mm-hmm.
The area described as Timpanelli, I believe.
Yes.
Comprised of a few offices and a couple of recording studios in the basement.
I see the policy's in the name of Dennis Mitchell.
Yes, but the building's owned by Cumming Properties. Now, if you've seen the morning paper...
No, I'm afraid I haven't yet.
Well, the fire hit the front page. Some young pop singer was working there at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Here, take a look. That's him, Johnny Seaton. Mitchell was his manager or agent. His cover for fire and coming properties will expect us to make good.
Their assessor's been down?
Oh, yes, early this morning, and was greeted by several of Mitchell's creditors.
Uh-oh.
Apparently, he owed money in all directions. Rent, furniture, equipment. This could be a case of arson, Barnaby.
Yes. Has Mitchell put in a claim?
No, we can't seem to contact him. If you ask me, he may have left town to establish an alibi. But he'll turn up. They always do.
There's someone down here, Val. Hello there.
Ah, Mr. Barnaby, I presume.
Ah, yes. You're the fire officer.
Gilby.
How are you, Mr. Gilby? My secretary, Miss Crane.
How do you do, miss? Would you like to come through to the studios?
Please.
After you, Miss Crane.
Thank you.
There were 2 small studios. It started through there in number 1 and then spread into here and to the upstairs offices.
The stairs didn't seem too bad.
No, well, you see, the air conditioning was switched on and the fire travelled up this shaft.
When were you called, Mr. Gilby?
8:13 to be exact. And what with the evening traffic, arrived at 8:20. Like an inferno down here. And this young chappie, this pop singer, Johnny Seaton, we found him on the stairs, out cold. They whisked him to hospital.
Still there, is he?
Well, as far as I know. We had it under control in about 15 minutes. By the time the place was pumped out, it was nearly 11. And the main cable's gone, so this is temporary lighting.
It was Seaton who called the brigade, was it?
No, he was in this studio. On the phone to some girlfriend, Miss Weston. She works here, apparently, secretary. Anyway, he smelt burning, opened that door and got hit by the smoke. Fortunately, she could hear the fire and called the brigade.
Has the owner, Mr. Mitchell, turned up yet?
No, he hasn't. It seems a bit odd, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
The damage will run up a bill for at least 6,000 or 7,000, I'd say.
Well, thanks for your cooperation, Mr. Gilby.
Well, if I can help in any way, just give us a call.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Cheerio. Well, let's go into the other studio, Val.
All right. Ooh, things are bad in here.
Yes, once that door was open, the fire was drawn rapidly through here by the air conditioning.
Where's all the recording stuff?
In there, the control room, behind the glass panel.
Surprised it survived the fire.
There's double windows for soundproofing. Let's take a look, shall we?
Uh-huh.
Well, there's little doubt that it started in here.
Some fault in the equipment.
There's something left on. It'll take some time to sift through this lot. You better call Alec and get him down here, would you?
Someone's coming down the stairs. Could be Mitchell.
Well, we'll soon see. Yes, can I help you?
Oh. Who are you?
My name's Barnaby. I'm retained by Crown Insurance.
Oh, I'm Sue Westerner. I work for Mr. Mitchell.
Then you haven't seen him by any chance?
No, that's why I'm here. I've been trying to contact him since last night. I don't know whether to find a new job or what.
Well, he's on the phone, isn't he?
Yes, but no reply. I can't understand it.
When did you last see him?
Last night. He left around 6. Said he had someone to meet, but if I needed him, he'd be back at the flat by 8.
I see. I gather you called the brigade.
Yes, you see, Johnny was on the phone to me. Johnny Seaton.
What time was this?
On the dot of 8. Anyway, he smelt burning, and he put the phone down and went to see what it was. And suddenly I could hear him coughing and the sound of burning, and then there was this awful crash of glass. I knew something had happened, so I called the brigade.
But they weren't called until 13 minutes past 8.
Oh, well, that wasn't my fault. You see, I'd have called them right away, but Johnny left the phone off the hook at this end, so I couldn't clear the line. I'd had a bath and I was still undressed. I suppose it was a good 10 minutes before the time I got to a phone.
You no idea where Mr. Mitchell can be reached?
Not a clue.
Mr. Mitchell is Mr. Seaton's agent, wasn't he?
Yes, he discovered him and had him under contract. Oh, poor Johnny. Be awful if the smoke's ruined his voice. Though they said he was comfortable.
Which hospital's he at?
The Central. It's easy to find. Go through Holborn and turn left at Gray's Inn Road.
Yeah, come in.
Excuse me, Mr. Seaton?
Oh, not another reporter.
No, I'm looking into the fire at the studios.
Oh, insurance?
Yes. How are you feeling?
Yeah, pretty bored. Private wards are okay, but you don't get much passing traffic. You want to hear about a fire, I suppose?
No rush?
Oh, well, I was in the studio working on a number.
From what time was this?
I turned up there about 5. Mr. Mitchell, he was next door in number 1, messing around in the control room. He had some trouble with one of the machines.
Oh, what kind of trouble?
Done transformer, from what Sue told me. She's Sue Weston, Mitch's secretary.
Yes. Is Mr. Mitchell a qualified electrician?
Just an amateur. He'd been playing around with it for days. I think there'd been a fuse. Oh, he'll tell you more about it than I can. Just ask him.
Oh, I would if I could reach him.
Eh? Oh, have you tried the flat?
No, I haven't, but I gather from Miss Weston he's not there.
Well, it can't be far away. I'll give you the number.
Well, but to get back to the fire, what actually happened?
Well, as I said, I've been working late, but by about 8 I'd had enough. I arranged to call Miss Weston, but while I was on the phone, I smelt burning. Funnily enough, I felt a bit warm and switched on the air conditioning about 5 minutes earlier. Anyway, as I said, I went to take a look. Oh, the moment I opened the door, it was like being hit by a hurricane. There was smoke. I nearly choked. Well, next thing I remember was waking up in the ambulance.
When Mr. Mitchell left, was everything off next door?
I couldn't say for sure. I didn't look.
Tell me, Mr. Seaton, did you know Mr. Mitchell was in serious financial difficulties?
Well, I knew things were tough, but I wouldn't have said they were as bad as all that.
Well, I'm afraid they were.
Oh, no. Look, if you think he set fire to the place for insurance, you're up the wall. Not Mitch. He's as straight as a die, that bloke. Look, whatever happened was a pure accident. You can take it from me.
Pretty austere for service flats.
Yes, but Mr. Mitchell can't afford to be choosy.
Number 47, did you say?
There it is, right in front of us.
Well, key and lock, door ajar. Useful.
Well, let's take a look.
Hugh. Hugh, look. That stain on the carpet. It's not...
Ketchup? No, it certainly isn't. That's a blood stain if ever I saw one.
Oh, but...
Hold it. Someone in the bedroom. Searching through the drawers by the sound of it. Well, we'll soon see.
What the blazes?
Robbie.
Hugh.
Inspector Hackett. It can't be, but...
I know. What am I doing here?
Well, yes.
But mind if I put the question first?
Looking for Mitchell.
Have you seen him, Robbie?
Yes, I've seen him. He won't be much help to you, I'm afraid. Not now or ever.
You mean... he's not...
Yes. Bullet through the right temple. Instantaneous. An old service revolver. People will hang on to these souvenirs.
Who found them?
The cleaner, around 8 this morning. He's dead for about 12 hours. Now, let's hear your contribution.
Well, Mitchell's studio went up in smoke last night. Crown Insurance suspect arson. And I'm busily earning my retainer.
And was it arson?
Well, it's a bit early to say. Alec's sifting through the debris now.
When did the fire start?
It was spotted around 8 o'clock. Could have been smoldering for hours. Mitchell left there around 6.
Well, he was seen entering this apartment around 5 to 8.
Did anyone hear the shot?
Yes, a neighbour just before 8. Thought it was a car backfiring, but the path report confirms the time.
His financial position was a bit shaky. Do you think it's suicide, Robbie?
Well, it has all the earmarks. Gun in hand, door locked on the inside.
No other door?
One to the fire escape, but that was closed too.
Then what's the query?
An unbelievable error. But then if they weren't made, we'd be out of business, wouldn't we? Afraid Mitchell was murdered.
Oh?
We found a beautiful set of his prints on the gun, but that's about all.
I'm not with you, Robbie.
Well, to fire a gun, my dear, one needs to press the trigger, usually with the index finger. The trigger was clean, not even a trace of a smudged print. Afraid Mitchell never fired it.
Then who did?
I have a shrewd idea. In fact, I've got a call out for him now. Some young pop singer that Mitchell had under contract. Found some correspondence. Yes, there's been a fair bit of trouble.
This pop singer, is his name Seaton, Johnny Seaton?
Yes, it is.
Well, I'm afraid you won't have much of a case against him, Robbie.
Oh?
Well, if Mitchell was killed on the dot of 8, then Seaton has as perfect an alibi as anyone can ask for. That's the exact time he discovered the fire at the studio. And he has a witness to prove it. This is Seaton's room.
Asleep, do you think?
We'll soon tell. Well, he was here a couple of hours ago, Robbie.
His clothes gone?
Just a moment. Yes, they have. Perhaps they've discharged him.
Well, I can soon check with the ward sister.
Right, and I'll check with the porter. Any luck, Robbie?
No, he hasn't been discharged.
But he was seen leaving and used the porter's phone. He rang for a minicab and asked to be taken to Denman Street.
That's the studio, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why go back there?
I wouldn't know. But if we hurry, we might be able to catch him. Well, Mr. Seaton.
Oh, hello, Mr. Barnaby.
Discharged yourself, I gather.
Oh, I got fed up lying there. I felt fine, so I upped and out. Came back to salvage a few manuscripts, but I haven't had much luck.
This is Inspector Hackett.
Oh, how do you do?
How do you do?
I can guess why you're here.
Can you?
Oh, yes, I just bumped into Miss Weston. Saw it in the stop press about Mr. Mitchell. Looks as though you were right, Mr. Barnaby, about things getting on top of him. I never thought he'd do a thing like that.
Like what, Mr. Seaton?
Oh, shoot himself. He had this souvenir from the war. Used to wave it around sometimes, joke about it. Well, people do, but you never take them seriously, do you?
You shared the flat with him, did you?
Yeah. Oh, he wasn't just a manager. He was a real pal. He gave me the run of the place.
So you've a key?
Sure.
You'd also a contract with Mr. Mitchell, which you were very anxious to break.
Oh, I wouldn't put it as strongly as that.
Wouldn't you?
Well, I didn't want to leave him, and finally we came to an arrangement. Bert Drober could handle me, and Mitch would take a small percentage. In fact, we signed a letter only yesterday. There shall be a copy in his drawer upstairs.
But if you've been up there, you'll know there's not much left of his desk.
Oh. You'll have to take my word for it, won't you?
Yeah. We can't very well ask Mr. Mitchell, can we?
Come in. Oh, Alec. How are we?
Since I took a shower, cleaner. Quite a job sifting through that debris.
Oh, how'd you make out?
Well, there's little doubt the fire originated in a piece of recording equipment. I found evidence of a faulty transformer. Unfortunately, it was in a wooden casing. I also checked the switch, and the machine was left running.
Then surely the fuse would have gone before the casing caught fire.
If the correct cartridge fuse was in the plug, should have been 2 amp, but it was 13. And you did say Mitchell was something of an amateur.
Yes, but all the same, those fuses could have been swapped, and the machine left on deliberately.
True. Mitchell's dead. Too late to question him. It could have been deliberate, I agree, but if it was, I don't see how you can prove it now.
Now, Miss Weston, I'm sorry to have to go over this again, but you're quite sure that it was 8 o'clock when Mr. Seaton rang?
Yes, positive, Inspector. I remember looking at the clock as I got out of the bath. In fact, I still had the towel round me.
Have you anything more, Q?
Oh, just a few small points. Who usually locked up at the studios?
Well, I did most days. Except if there was a late recording session. Johnny had a key, too.
Have you ever known Mr. Mitchell to leave any of the equipment switched on?
Well, he didn't make a habit of it. But it has happened once or twice. One of the machines, the lights, the air conditioning.
I see. Well, I'm sorry to have bothered you, Miss Seaton.
Oh, that's okay.
Miss Weston, I'm sorry.
Anything to help. I can go, can I?
Yes, thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Well, that doesn't take us much further, does it, Q? We know Mitchell entered the apartment at 5:08 and was shot a minute or so later on the dot of 8, in fact. Now, Seaton could have been waiting for him.
Yes, but at the time, he was at the studio. And he has Miss Weston to prove it. And it's a good 10 minutes from the apartment, even by car.
Yes, true. Well, then, maybe I'd better fish around for another suspect. After all, a man can't be in 2 places at once, can he?
The report to the Crown Insurance Q, all ready to sign.
And I can't say I'm that happy.
Well, seems to hinge on Miss Weston's evidence, doesn't it?
There's nothing like having a witness to substantiate an alibi.
True. Usually it's an eyewitness, and what do we call her? An ear witness?
Yes, I suppose we do.
Well, if you've got your pen, would you mind signing? Oh, Q, the report. Sign. I'll pop it into an envelope, and then off it can go to the Crown Insurance. The name's Barnaby.
No, just a second, Val.
Well, is it going in the post tonight, or isn't it?
No. It's going into the wastepaper basket instead.
Here, I spent nearly an hour on that.
I'll see you get a bonus.
For what?
Putting a crazy idea into my head. Now grab your coat and follow me. We're going back to that studio.
Oh, really, Q, what are you hoping to find?
It's what I'm hoping not to find. Look at the debris. There's something missing, isn't there?
Well, is there? Looks pretty much the same to me.
It is. Alex sifted through it, but it's all there.
So, would you mind explaining?
Yes, in a second. First, let's have Miss Weston's statement. Have you got it?
Word for word.
Good. But before we see her again, I have a couple of errands to make.
What have you got there?
What's it look like?
Got a tape recorder.
Right. I hired it.
Buying records too, I see.
Just one.
What on earth for?
Don't look so bewildered. It's not in the top 10, but you can order it from almost any record shop.
So now, where do we go?
Well, I'm going to call on Miss Weston, but I want you to call Robbie. So out you get and tell him to be at this address in about half an hour.
Oh, Mr. Barnaby, I'm just on my way up.
Then I'll be as brief as I can.
Oh. Bought yourself a recording machine?
No, just on loan.
Mitch had quite a nice little one.
Yes, I noticed it when I was here earlier.
It's useful for rehearsing.
And for quite a few other things, such as establishing alibis.
Establishing?
Oh, come on, Mr. Seaton. You're more than familiar with the word alibi. You produced one that was almost foolproof.
Did I?
I could kick myself for not latching on earlier.
Well, latching on to what?
How a man can be in two places at once. Killing Mitchell in this apartment one minute and discovering the fire at the studio the next.
Sorry, you're way ahead of me.
Then I'll enlighten you with a practical demonstration. First, do you recognize this voice?
Johnny was on the phone to me. Johnny Seaton.
It's Sue.
What time was this?
On the dot of 8.
Yes, it's just a repeat of her original statement, which I just recorded.
Put down the phone and went to see what it was. And suddenly I could hear him coughing and the sound of burning. Then there was this awful crash of glass. I knew something.
Oh, very enlightening, I'm sure.
Yes, it is to me. It tells me that when you rang Miss Weston, you were never at the studio.
Oh? And where the hell was I?
In this apartment, I believe. You waited for Mitchell, shot him, then rang Miss Weston, and the sound of fire she heard was a track from a special sound effects record very popular with dramatic societies.
Where is this tape?
Oh, you've made some mistakes. You're not as foolish as that. I'm sure you destroyed it.
And where's your proof, Mr. Barnaby?
Miss Weston's given me all the proof I need.
I don't see how you...
No? Then listen, Mr. Seaton. Just listen to this. Sound of fire, isn't it? Plus a crash of glass, as Miss Weston described.
So?
Extraordinary when there are no windows in the basement studio and the partition to the control room is still intact.
What?
I'm afraid it didn't break, Mr. Seaton. So it's obvious you weren't phoning from the studio. Robbie, no doubt. He may not be very musical, but the inspector does have a wonderful sense of timing.
That was Robert Beatty as Q Barnaby and Gudrun Ure as Val in The Sound of Fire, written by Philip Levine, Destination Fire. Fireproof, a story by Philip Levine with Robert Beatty as Q Barnaby, fire investigator.
Yes?
Your nephew's here, Mrs. Craig.
Yes, I heard him drive up.
I brought the tea. Will you stay in the chair or sit at the table?
Oh, the table, I think.
Have you got your stick?
Yes, now don't fuss. I can manage.
Hello, Auntie. Looking jolly well today.
Oh, hello, Alan. All right, Mrs. Reed, I'll see to the tea.
Well, I'm up now. We should be back just after 7, provided my bus isn't late. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
No, Auntie, leave this to me. I'll be mother. Dash of milk and 3 lumps, isn't it?
Very considerate today.
Aren't I always considerate?
Well, you haven't been near me for over a month.
Well, not through choice, my love, I promise you.
You're barely half an hour's drive away.
Here's your tea.
I buy you a cottage and a car.
And I'm deeply appreciative. But when business calls...
still chasing after old books, are you?
Very profitable chase, too. Find the rare stuff and there's no shortage of customers.
No, I'm glad to hear it.
And I'm glad you rang. I intended to pop over for a chat.
Oh? And what about?
Well, to thank you, really. You've helped me through some pretty sticky patches. The Allowance, that 1,000 at Christmas. Well, it shouldn't be long before I'm really on my feet.
Good.
In fact, I've got wind of something that might very well be the turning point.
Oh?
There's a fabulous collection for sale. And if someone will buy the lot, it's going for a song. If I can lay my hands on 5,000, my troubles are over. Purely a loan, you understand?
Well, at any other time, of course, you could have had it, but not now.
Oh, why not?
Well, this will come as a shock, Alan. But I'm in difficulties myself. That's why I rang you.
What?
As you know, most of your uncle's investments were abroad. Well,
Yes.
something's happened to do with some new government. Well, if I hadn't had my small annuity, I should be penniless. A further loan's out of the question, and I'm afraid I can't continue your allowance.
Oh, as bad as that, is it?
I've lost my maid and the gardener, and Mrs. Reed comes in twice a day, or I shouldn't know what to do.
Well, you'd do better to sell this place, wouldn't you? It would fetch at least 35 or 40,000.
No, I'll manage somehow, and I hope you will, too.
Hello?
Mr. Craig?
Yes?
It's Mrs. Reed here. Could you come at once?
What's the trouble, Mrs. Reed?
It's your aunt. She's taken an overdose.
A what?
An overdose of sleeping tablets. I can't wake her. I've sent for Dr. Nichols. He's on his way.
All right, now don't panic. I'll drive into Linchester right away. I should be at the house in about half an hour.
Really, Alan, I can't imagine what all the fuss is about. I couldn't sleep, so I took some tablets. Didn't seem to work, so I took a few more.
Well, when she couldn't wake you...
Fool of a woman ringing you up and bringing Dr. Nichols over here.
Which reminds me. Now, you rest for a moment. I shan't be long. Sorry to have kept you, Doctor. She seems to be all right. Just one of those silly things.
Think so? Well, I'd rather she wasn't left alone.
Was she ill?
No, physically she's well enough. Seems to manage all right, but I'm not happy about these depressions.
Oh, she'd been like that for years. She'll get over it. You don't imagine she took the tablets deliberately?
I don't know. It's not the first incident, you know.
Oh?
Oh, look, I hate to mention this, but as her only relative, I feel you ought to know. About 10 days ago, she very nearly gassed herself.
What?
If Mrs. Reed hadn't arrived when she did...
What happened?
Well, she said that she turned on the fire, went to get the matches, then had some kind of a mental lapse, sat in the chair, dropped off.
I see. This is serious.
I'm glad you agree. So do your utmost to see she employs someone full-time, will you?
Well, it's just about under control, Mr. Craig.
The roof's gone. It's beyond repair, I'm afraid.
Yes, great pity. Lovely cottage. Your own, was it?
Yes, well, can't blame anyone else. It's my own damn fault.
Well, these things happen, sir.
Now, whose car's that? It's not some damn sightseer.
That looks to me like a police car. Yes, it is.
What do they want?
Excuse me, sir. Is Mr. Craig about?
Yes, I'm Mr. Craig.
Oh, how do you do, sir? I'm Sergeant Collins from the County Constabulary.
Yes, what is it, Sergeant?
Oh, I see you troubles enough, sir. I got some rather bad news for you. You are the nephew of Mrs. Ellen Craig of Ivy Hall, Linchester?
Yes, I am. What's happened?
Well, sir, she's had an accident.
What?
Fell from the balcony of her sitting room. I'm afraid she's dead, sir.
Go in. Inspector Hackett. Q's expecting you. You can charge straight in.
I'll just walk if it's all the same.
Hello, Robbie.
Morning, Q.
Good or bad?
Well, for the moment, let's say a trifle gloomy.
Oh, what's the problem?
Could be murder.
No. Who's the victim?
An elderly widow, a Mrs. Ellen Craig. She fell from a balcony at a house in Linchester.
Ah. Was she pushed or did she jump, eh?
How did you guess?
Second sight. But it's a little outside of my territory, isn't it?
You won't think so when I've filled in the gaps.
Then start filling.
Well, Mrs. Craig had been depressed following some financial loss. Almost gassed herself, and a couple of days back took an overdose of sleeping tablets.
Does sound like suicide.
Normally, I might agree. But on the day of the gas fire incident, a window was left open, and when she took that overdose, the bottle was still half full. Now, you might make a mistake once, but twice. And finally, when our daily woman found her just after 7 last night, her stick was by her chair in the sitting room.
And perhaps her fall was accidental.
No, she never moved an inch without that stick. There's something wrong here, Q.
Well, you're the policeman. My speciality's fire, remember?
That's why I'm here.
Oh?
The old girl was broke, but the house would fetch around 40,000. There's just one beneficiary, a nephew, Alan Craig.
He lived there?
No, he's in the book trade. Operates from a small cottage about 20 miles from Linchester.
And what was he doing at 7 o'clock last night?
Having a fire.
Was he?
Accidental, but so convenient. I won't go into the details. I'd prefer you to hear it from him. Just let's say he admits negligence, but it also gives him a perfect alibi.
So his story is that at 7 o'clock, when his aunt fell from the balcony, he started a fire about 20 miles away.
But if you could prove he didn't, then I might have a case.
Was he insured?
Yes, with Northwestern. You're retained by them, aren't you?
So I suppose you'd like me to look over the cottage.
You know, Q, I really think you have got second sight.
Craig's meeting us here, is he?
Yes, I asked Northwestern to ring him. He's staying at some hotel in Winchester. Meantime, let's take a look over the cottage, or what's left of it. Now, let's get our bearings. Hallway, dining room to the right, study to the left, and kitchen straight on.
And bedroom's upstairs.
But before I go up, I just want to take a look at the fuse box.
Everything in order?
No, not quite. The cooker fuse is gone and the main cable, but the equipment seems okay. I think I'll inspect the rest of the wiring.
Yes, but Craig said it was an accident, didn't he?
All the same, let's stick to our usual routine. Check the switches and plugs in the study, will you? I'll take the dining room.
Everything was off in the study, Q. Lights and power.
Fine. Now, let's go into the kitchen. That's where the accident was supposed to have occurred.
Well, no doubt it started in here. Hardly a window intact.
There's been a slight explosion. Yes, look at this piece of metal embedded in the door. Something blew up, all right. And what do you smell?
I should say that was paraffin.
And you'd be
You're
perfect.
perfectly right. It certainly was paraffin.
Oh, you're Mr. Craig, I take it.
I am, and I presume you're Barnaby from Northwestern.
Well, I'm retained by them. This is my secretary, Miss Crane.
How do you do?
I rang and gave the insurance people a full account, so I'm rather surprised you came down.
It's the usual procedure.
I'm sure, but it seems to me rather pointless. Well, I mean, I doubt if they'll pay up.
Why not?
Oh, it's a sad, sad story. You see, I'm in the rare book trade. I specialize in first editions, that sort of thing.
Yes, I noticed the study piled full of books.
Most of my stock's been ruined. Anyway, when I applied for insurance, they said no inflammable liquids were to be kept or brought into the cottage. Well, no point in lying about it. You chaps are far too astute for that. I was negligent, so it's doubtful if I'll get a penny.
Oh, insurance companies don't label every mistake as willful negligence, Mr. Gregg, but let's start from the beginning. And it might give us a clearer picture if you could go back an hour or two before the actual fire.
Yes, of course. Now, let me see. During the afternoon, I was cataloguing some new stock, packed up around 5:45, and took a stroll down to Pearson's garage. That's a mile or two from here. I run a car, but I also have a small scooter. It was in for a service, and I went to pick it up.
And you got back when?
Around 6:30, I suppose. I was staying in, and I'd bought a small joint, so I shoved it in the oven. I wasn't going to eat until about 8:30, so I set the cooker timer for 7. Well, it saves one forgetting, doesn't it, Miss Crane?
Yes.
Then I went into the study. I had some correspondence to clear up. Got a bit chilly, so I thought I'd put on the oil heater. I was out of fuel. I usually take it to the shed. But it was about 7 and dark by then, so I got the can and filled the heater in here.
Go on.
Well, there was about a gallon left in the can. I put the cap on, and like an idiot, I stood it on top of the cooker. I went into the study, lit the heater, and as I drew the curtains, there was an almighty bang from in here. I dashed back in. It was like an inferno. I had a small extinguisher, tried to put it out, but not a hope. I tried to call emergency, but the line was dead. Nipped into the car, raced to Pearson's garage, but he was closed. So I drove on towards Linchester. Eventually I found a box and called the brigade. They had to come from Brockley. Got here about 7:30. Well, I expect you guessed what caused it.
But I'd like to hear it from you.
Well, if you take a look at the cooker, you'll see I set the timer for 7 o'clock.
Yes, but wasn't that for the oven?
Yes, but the time switch just brings on the power. You still have to turn the oven control, but the controls are all alike. I must have switched on one of the hot plates. There, you see, it's still in the full position. And the paraffin can was standing right on it. And when the power came on, up it went. Anyway, thank God I was next door when it blew up.
The brigade headquarters, you said, were at Brockley?
Yes, about 15-20 minutes from here. You go past Pearson's garage and take the right fork. The left will take you to Linchester.
And if I need to reach you, Mr. Craig?
I'm staying at the Crescent Hotel. But if I'm not there, I won't be far away. Just inquire at reception.
Come in, Mr. Barnaby. Happy to meet you. I'm Fire Officer Thomas.
Oh, how do you do?
So, fire at Mr. Craig's cottage you heard about?
Yes. What time did the call come in?
Oh, hang on. Here we are. 7:16.
It came from a call box?
Yes, along the main Linchester Road.
Just as a matter of interest, when you dial emergency, could you say you were at one box and yet be somewhere else?
Well, not in this district. The calls are pinpointed automatically in case the caller collapses or forgets to give the address.
Aye.
Craig definitely called from that box.
And you arrived at the cottage around 7:30?
7:31, to be exact. The power had gone as we expected, and as it gets dark around 7, we brought spotlights. But the mains water was okay.
Did you go in personally?
Well, as close as I could. Kitchen seemed the worst hit.
Tell me, from your experience, how long would you say it had been burning?
Oh, a good half hour. Didn't look too bad when we drove up. Kitchen's at the back. Curtains were drawn in front, and it hadn't broken through the roof.
Craig was there when you arrived?
Yes, worrying about his books.
He told you how it happened, I suppose?
Yeah, crazy thing to do. And if people didn't behave idiotically, we'd be out of business, wouldn't we? Yes. I inspected the place when the fire was out. Everything seemed to tally. In view of his policy, he struck me as a very honest bloke.
Why have we come back, Hugh?
There's a few things I'd like to check, now that I've seen Thomas and heard Craig's story.
Hoping to catch him out, eh?
It's not just the fire, my pet.
I know, Robbie told me. But Craig doesn't strike me as a murderer.
There are a few that do.
But if he was here when the fire started, he's innocent.
But if he wasn't, there's little doubt he's guilty. Else why rig such an elaborate alibi?
Oh, well, where do we start?
Into the kitchen. Follow me. Now, first let's check the cooker. Time switch on and set for 7, and the hot plate, too.
I've thought of something. If the joint was in the oven and he put on the wrong switch, then it'll still be in there, uncooked.
Well, let's see, shall we?
And it is. So he was telling the truth.
So far, but I'm not through yet. Let's take things in order. He said he used the extinguisher.
Well, there's one in the hallway there, and it's empty.
Now, if the paraffin exploded, then he must have replaced the cap. See if you can find the neck of the can.
Oh, there's no trouble there. Here it is. Complete with cap, so there.
Now, just one final thing before we go into the study. The depth of charring. Fire was burning for about 3/4 of an hour, so with this soft wood, it should be charred to a depth of about 1 inch.
And?
It is.
Well, the man could be innocent, you know.
True, but I agree with Robbie on one point. It's all too neat. Now, let's go into the study. Would you draw those curtains, Val, or what's left of them?
The windows are quite clean. No soot.
Well, they would be if the curtains were drawn.
Shelves full of books. Are they salvageable?
Might be when they dry out.
You know, I like shelves from floor to ceiling. It's rather impressive.
That's curious.
What?
There are 2 or 3 volumes missing from each shelf.
Well, perhaps he sold them.
No, the fire officer mentioned there was a pile of books on the driveway. And there's something else missing, too.
Well, what?
The oil heater. Craig said he brought it in here, didn't he? Well, where is it?
It's out in the lawn. I saw it when I drew the curtains. Perhaps the brigade carried it out.
Well, Thomas never mentioned it.
Then perhaps Craig took it out.
And he never mentioned it either.
Oh, well, then ask him.
I intend to. But there's something else I'd like to check first.
You're from the insurance company, did you say, Mr. Barnaby?
Yes, Mr. Pearson. This is merely a routine. But I gathered from Mr. Craig that he dropped by here yesterday to collect his scooter.
Yes, that's right. Oh, it'll be around 6:15. I was just thinking about closing.
In good condition, was it? The scooter?
Oh, yes, first rate. Only in for a service, then I filled her up and off he went.
Back to his cottage?
Yes, as far as I know. Then I closed out.
I see. Well, thank you, Mr. Pearson. You've been most helpful.
Oh, that's all right, sir.
That didn't take long, Q.
No. Did you manage to get Robbie?
Yes, just caught him. He'll be in Linchester around 1:30.
Oh?
Has an appointment with the Chief Constable, but he thought we'd meet him for lunch.
Oh, fine then. Let's hurry. I don't want to miss Craig if I can help it.
It's hardly luxurious, Mr. Barnaby, but comfortable. Unless you'd prefer the bar.
No, your room will do fine.
Well, how can I help?
This heater you filled, didn't you take it into the study?
Yes.
Then how did it get outside?
Oh, I took it out. I guessed the fire would spread, so naturally I removed it.
You didn't mention that earlier.
Oh, didn't I? Oh, sorry.
You also removed quite a few books.
Yes, 3 or 4 dozen, actually. I wish I could have salvaged more, but the brigade kept me out. Those books are all over here. Mainly first editions, as you can see. Naturally, I grabbed the most valuable.
Well, I wouldn't know. They all look alike to me.
Yes, they do have similar bindings, and quite a few with faded titles. But you can soon tell by referring to the flyleaf.
And you salvaged these when, exactly?
After I'd removed the heater, and just before I went to call the brigade.
More coffee for you, Robbie?
No, thanks, Val. You were saying, Q?
I'm afraid I can't fault a single statement of Craig's.
He's clever. No doubt about that.
Have you any evidence?
Nothing concrete.
But Craig's alibi's watertight.
You mean fireproof, don't you?
And there's no doubt it did start at 7Q.
There's no doubt at all. And now I come to think of it, there is one way he could have started it and still not have been there.
Oh, how?
Well, supposing when he picked up the scooter, he drove into Linchester instead of back to the cottage.
Yes, he might have been spotted in that car of his.
He arrives at the house about 7:15, coaxes his aunt onto the balcony. That over, he heads back to the cottage.
Yes, but the paraffin can was...
Oh, he set that all up before he left. The time switch, the can on the hot plate, and on the dot at 7, up she goes.
And meantime, he's on his way back.
Exactly. Now, at the halfway mark, he gets into a phone box. He calls the brigade and drives back to the cottage to await their arrival.
Yes, I think you've hit it,
Yes,
Q.
but how do you prove it?
Well, there's one possibility. Pearson told me that he filled the scooter with petrol just as Craig left the garage. Now, if he just drove to the cottage, the tank would still be almost full.
Mm-hmm.
But if he drove into Linchester, that's around about 40 miles there and back, he'd have gone through at least a quarter of the tank.
Yes, but you'd need to check whether he's used the scooter since the fire.
Naturally.
Then call me, will you? I have a conference at the county constabulary. I'll be there till about 7:30.
Well, this is Craig's room. I hope he's in.
Well, I saw him in the dining room earlier on.
Did you?
Yes, but he disappeared rather quickly. He may have seen us with Robbie.
Well, if he did, it'll be interesting to see if he mentions it. Oh, good afternoon, Mr. Craig.
Oh, more questions, Mr. Barnaby?
Just a few. You've met my secretary.
Indeed. But what happened to the inspector? Didn't I see him at your table?
Yes, we're old friends. I didn't realize you knew him.
Yes, one tragedy on top of another, I'm afraid. An aunt of mine met with an accident. Sad business. Still, I mustn't burden you with my troubles. What can I do for you?
Well, it's just a minor point. Bar the paraffin, do you keep anything else inflammable?
Some fuel for the car and the scooter.
What does the scooter hold?
Oh, a couple of gallons.
But it hasn't been out of the garage since you collected it?
No. Why'd you ask?
Well, some people have been known to take scooters into the house, and that kind of action, well, it wouldn't help your claim.
No. It's been in there since I picked it up from Pearson's.
Oh, well, thanks, Mr. Craig. That's all I wanted to know. Goodbye.
There's a phone along the corridor. Are you going to call Robbie?
No, let's check that scooter first.
Stairs or lift?
Stairs, it's quicker. Come on.
Oh, excuse me a moment, sir.
Yes?
Are you Mr. Barnaby?
Yes, I am.
There's an Inspector Hackett on the line for you, sir.
Oh.
The phone on the desk.
Oh, thank you very much. Hello. Hello. Hello, Robbie, you there?
Wonder what he wants.
Well, I wouldn't know. He seems to have disappeared. Hello. Hello.
Perhaps you've been cut off.
I say, excuse me.
Yes, sir?
I seem to have been cut off. Do you know the number of the county constabulary offhand?
Oh, yes, sir. 143.
Is it all right if I...
Yes, do. Please, sir.
Oh, thank you. It's ringing.
County Constabulary.
My name's Barnaby. Inspector Hackett rang me. I was cut off. I believe he's with the Chief Constable. Could you reconnect me, please?
Just one moment, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
Hello, Robbie?
Speaking.
Q here.
Well, what's the news? Did you check the fuel tank?
No, I was just on my way when you called.
When I called, but you're calling me.
What? But, Robbie, you rang me just now.
No, not me. Pierre, what's going on?
Well, that's what I'd like to know.
Look, I promise you I didn't call you.
Well, if you didn't, I wonder who did.
Oh, seems you were right, Q. There's Craig's car.
Yes, he made that call, I'm sure of it. Phoned reception from that coin box in the corridor.
To Deneas, you mean?
Well, what do you think?
Oh, Barnaby, I didn't realize you were coming back, or I'd have asked you for a lift back here.
Well, you seem to have transport.
Yes, but when you mentioned the scooter, I didn't think I'd better leave it here. I thought I might strap it onto the back, but it's too heavy. I'll ask Pearson to collect it later. Well, time's getting on. I'm off back to Linchester. Unless there are any other little points to clear up.
No, thank you, Mr. Craig.
Cheerio, Barnaby. Miss Crane.
Goodbye.
Oh, there's the scooter.
With the tank registering full, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
All the same, I think I'll take a look in the tank.
Why bother?
Because every man's innocent until proved guilty.
Well?
Craig's guilty, all right.
Yes, but the tank's full.
Yes, too full. It's a couple of miles from Pearson's garage, yet this tank's full to the brim. He knew I'd guessed about his trip to Linchester and came back to fill that tank.
Well, it'll be difficult to prove. He might say he topped it up yesterday.
I'm pretty sure he would.
So, back to Linchester, I suppose.
No, I'd like a final look around whilst it's still light.
Don't forget your lights. It's lighting up time, remember. We'll get a move on and we'll miss Robbie. Won't move off unless you engage the gear.
What time did you say it was about?
What?
The time.
But just on 7. Why are you asking? You've got a watch of your own, haven't you?
Just a double check.
And now what are you doing?
I'm getting out of the car.
And do I follow suit?
No. You'll take it and find the nearest phone box. Call Robbie at County Constabulary. Tell him to head Craig off and bring him back here.
Yes, but what's the idea?
Craig's not quite as thorough as I thought.
What's he done?
It's what he didn't do.
Well, what didn't he do?
Oh, come on, you should know. You told me.
Then would you mind telling me?
Later. First you get onto that phone and call Robbie, and hurry.
All right, Mr. Craig. How'd you get?
Now, look here, Inspector. What the hell's going on?
Ah, that was quick, Robbie.
So you're behind this, are you, Barnaby? A few more tiresome questions, I suppose.
Yes, as a matter of fact, there are. So, if the inspector has his torch, perhaps you'll follow me into the study.
Oh, blast!
Careful, Mr. Craig. I'd hate you to trip over anything.
Well, I haven't got cat's eyes, you know.
No, I didn't think you had. That's one of the reasons I asked you back here. I'd just like to confirm one or two of your earlier statements. You did set that cooker for 7 o'clock?
It's easy enough to check, isn't it?
Then, following the explosion, you used your extinguisher, tried the phone, then removed the heater, and finally your precious first edition.
It's in my written statement.
In that order?
Yes, ask the inspector.
That's correct, Q.
Now, is there anything else I can do for you?
If you wouldn't mind. There's an old, if somewhat damp, set of Dickens on that shelf behind you.
No, they're of no great value.
Well, all the same, would you mind handing me the copy of Bleak House? Please, Mr. Craig.
Very well. If the inspector wouldn't mind directing his torch towards the bookcase.
Certainly.
No, I'd rather you didn't, Robbie.
What?
I'd prefer Mr. Craig to hand me the volume without your help.
Look, I haven't a torch, and I can't see in the dark.
Can't you? Robbie, take note. That's a confession if ever I heard
Confession?
one. Then you weren't in this cottage at 7 last night. When you removed those first editions, it was broad daylight.
And how can you prove that?
Because it's dark by 6:45.
Well, sir, I put the light on.
That's just it. You didn't. There wasn't a single light on throughout the house. And if you want me to prove that, it's too simple, Mr. Craig. Your torch, Robbie.
Here you are.
Thanks. Now, Mr. Craig, over here. Now, look at this light switch. It's covered in soot. If it's in the on position during the fire, the lower part remains clean. See? But if it's off, then this is how it looks. The upper part's clean. So if the lights were off, you weren't in this cottage when the fire broke out. In that case, I think the inspector has a few more tiresome questions to ask you.
stars Robert Beatty as Q Barnaby and Gudrun Ure as Val in Fireproof, written by Philip Levine. Charred Remains, a story by Philip Levine, with Robert Beatty as Q Barnaby, fire investigator.
Excuse me, this chair taken?
No, help yourself.
Thank you.
Here, hang on to that. I'll shift it for you.
Oh, that's kind of you.
Improved, hasn't it?
Hmm?
The food in the buffets.
Oh, yes, the sandwiches look quite fresh. Not bad at all.
Poor old comedians have to find some new material, won't they? All those jokes about stale sandwiches and lukewarm tea.
Yes, indeed. Of course, some people will complain about anything. One meets it all the time in business.
You're telling me. This thing about the customer's always right there, not, you know.
I can see you're in business, too.
Wholesale stationers, anything from ballpoints to typewriters.
Sounds profitable.
Was, once upon a time. But the multiples are squeezing out the small men. What's your line?
Furniture.
Retail?
No, manufacture.
Oh, very nice.
Well, as you said, once upon a time. To be honest, I've been trying to sell out.
Well, talk about birds of a feather, me too. But money's tight.
Tight? I sometimes wonder if it hasn't all dried up.
Have you closed down?
No, I must keep going somehow if I hope to sell.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I keep ordering, but Lord knows what I'll do with this stuff.
Oh, sorry, that's my tray.
Oh, and mine.
Really?
Travel together, eh?
Yes, why not? Yes, I agree with you, Mr. Martin. Bank managers aren't too helpful these days.
Mine's pushing me for all he's worth. If I don't cough up soon, Mr. Carter, I'm for the bankruptcy court, I can tell you.
I shan't be far behind.
You know, I think I'm worth more dead than alive.
Aren't we all?
No, I mean, here I am with a freehold warehouse plus stock. Must be worth 35, 40,000. Yet the only way I'll get my hands on the cash is for the place to go up in smoke.
Well, provided you're covered.
Oh, I am, don't you worry. How about you?
Oh, yes, I suppose my policy's worth... Yes, around about 40,000 too.
Well, we're not just birds of a feather. More like two pigs, eh?
So, how about starting a little fire?
Yes, how about it?
Oh, no, I think I'd prefer the bankruptcy court to prison. You can't get away with arson these days.
Depends. You know, I was in the AFS during the War Auxiliary Fire Service.
Were you?
I know a fair bit about fire. Yes, people get caught, but that's because they're careless or they're around when it happens. Use your head, get yourself an alibi, and you're home and dry.
Ah, but they'd always connect you in some way.
Once again, depends. You know, it's funny, meeting you like this just reminded me of something.
Oh?
Yes, a film I saw once, years back. There's two blokes meet, you see, on a train. Both want to get rid of their wives, so they swap murders. Now, supposing you and I swap fires, eh?
You're not serious.
Nevermore.
Oh, but...
Look, supposing you nipped off somewhere, and I put a match to your place, well, there's nothing to connect us who'd suspect me, and vice versa.
Oh, no, Mr. Martin, sorry, that's not for me.
Mr. Carter, you're a man after my own heart. You're cautious, you don't rush into things. But you're up against it, so am I. So why not think about it?
No, really.
Give it a week or so. And if you're agreeable, let's meet, say, Marble Arch Speakers Corner Monday week. If you turn up, fine. If not, don't worry. I shan't hold it against you. Now, Mr. Carter, let's have the name of the hotel again, eh?
The Crown, Westbourne.
Good. Now, have all your meals in and be seen around. I won't go into action until the Saturday.
You're sure it'll be all right?
Oh, can't miss. Your factory's closed for annual holidays. You'll have been gone a week. All I need is a large pile of wood shavings and a spot of linseed oil. And when the insurance blokes turn up, they'll think it's what they call spontaneous combustion.
Yes, but...
Oh, they may rap you over the knuckles for negligence, but that's all.
You know, I've got some very valuable machinery. Seems...
Leave it. Don't take anything out of the factory. They might check your inventory. That'd be a bad mistake.
I've got a small delivery van. Can I hang on to that?
Shove it into a garage for service before you go. That should be all right. Now, come on, let's have those keys.
There you are.
Right, and I'll post these to your flat. When you arrive back, go straight there from the station and destroy the envelope before you do anything else.
I won't forget.
Good.
How will I know if everything's all right?
Simple. Westbourne's on STD, and you phone this number at 10 o'clock Saturday week, and I'll be there. And by that time, Mr. Carter, it should all be over.
Hello? No names, friend. The kiddies' bonfire's well away. They'll be having fun and games all night.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
Won't forget you owe me a return invitation, will you?
No, of course not. Where do we meet? The park?
No, the train, Thursday, at 10:35.
Q, where are you?
Straight ahead, the machine shop.
It was such bliss, sleeping late on a Sunday morning, and then you had to call.
Can't say I was overjoyed when the insurance company rang. Did you pick up the brigade's report?
Yes. Should I read it?
Yes, please.
Premises, Hexton Furniture Limited. Owner, Charles Carter. Manufacturers of domestic furniture. Call received 9:23. Brigade arrived 9:27. All doors were locked on arrival. Entry finally gained through the delivery bay.
Well, was that all?
No, not quite. The factory was closed for annual holidays. The owner's at an hotel in Westbourne. He was notified by telephone and would be returning by the earliest train on Sunday. That's this morning. Well, I shouldn't think he'll be too pleased either.
He has himself to blame.
Has he?
From the depth of charring, the fire started here, by this partition, or what's left of it. I'd say there was a large pile of wood shavings here. Some oils dripped through from the polishing department. It oxidizes, the pile gets hot like a compost heap, then up it goes by spontaneous ignition.
Oh, it was an accident then.
Well, there's no signs of forced entry, and the factory's been closed for 8 days.
You'll want a sample of this ash?
Yes, you better stick to routine. Get Alec to check for linseed oil, will you? But from the smell, I've little doubt about it.
Mr. Barnaby?
Yes?
I'm Mr. Carter. They tell me you might be here. I hope I haven't kept you. I didn't get into Victoria until 10:15, then I dropped off my case at the flat.
Well, as you can see, there's not much left, I'm afraid.
Do you know how it started?
Well, I have an idea. If I'm right, then I must lay the blame at your door.
What? At mine?
Bad management. A pile of wood shavings became contaminated with oil. Rubbish should be disposed of daily.
Well, there were notices, but I'm afraid one can't be everywhere at once.
Now, just a few questions.
Yes?
You've been staying at Westbourne?
Mm-hmm. All the week, at the Crown.
And you were there last night?
Yes, there was a dinner dance and I was with friends.
Prior to the holidays, you were in full production?
Oh, yes, and I locked up personally on the Friday.
Everything was switched off?
Oh, yes, I checked the mains in the offices and the factory.
I see. Well, I think that's all for the moment, Mr. Carter.
You're through, are you?
I'll probably look around again, but my report should be with the company in a day or so. Come in. Ah, Alec, just the man.
My report on those wood shavings.
Good. Let's have it.
Well, they contained an unsaturated oil. I did number around the 180s, so I should think it was linseed. But I'm not sure it came from the polishing department.
Oh? Why?
You take a look at this ground plan of the factory.
Where'd you get this?
From the local authorities.
Why?
Well, in spite of the fire, the moisture content of those shavings was quite high. I don't think they did catch alight on their own. Of course, I can't be certain. That's why I collected the plan. Look, is this a drain or isn't it?
It could be. It's certainly worth investigating. And Carter did bother me slightly. Thanks, Alec.
My pleasure.
There's a coffee for you, Alec, on my desk.
Oh, thanks.
Val, we're going back to the factory.
Why? What's wrong?
A couple of things. Tell me, if you got a call that your whole business had gone up in smoke, what would you do the moment you arrived at Victoria?
We'll grab a cab and go straight to the factory.
But Carter didn't. He went home and dropped off his case.
Uh-huh.
And that's not all. Alec's come up with something.
Well, have I time to finish my coffee?
All right. But make sure I don't leave here without the large spirit level. Right, Val. Now, if we can just clear some of this ash away, I can use this spirit level.
All right, sure.
I want to see which way the floor slopes.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's not much of a slope, is there?
No, but enough. Where's that can of water?
Oh, here.
There, you see? The water runs away from the machine shop and down towards that inside drain. The linseed oil could never have leaked through from the polishing department, because the floor slopes the other way.
Look, I'm telling you, Martin, they're suspicious.
How can they be? Your alibi's perfect, Carter.
Then why are they delaying payment?
Well, we give them another week and then threaten legal proceedings. Those companies don't like trouble. You'll get your money.
Yes, but when? The factory's gone. I've got no assets. The bank's refused me another penny. I've tried to raise some cash, but I've...
Aye. And what about my place?
Your place?
Well, that's why we met, you know. To plan your part of the bargain.
Yes, but wouldn't it be wiser to postpone it for a while?
You know, Carter, I think you're scared.
Well, if you want the truth, yes, I am. Oh, it all sounded very simple, but I'm not so sure anymore.
But be logical. How can they connect me with you or you with me? We're total strangers.
That says maybe.
Look, I'll tell you what. I'll give you a bit of an incentive.
How do you mean?
Well, you're broke, so perhaps I can help you out.
Would you, Martin?
Oh, I've no cash handy,
Oh.
but as you know, I've kept the business ticking over, and on Friday I'm expecting a couple of dozen brand new office typewriters, international. They retail about 70 quid each. Now, I know someone who pays 30 quid a piece, no questions asked.
You mean...
Simple. You've got a van, haven't you?
Yes.
It's plain, isn't it? No name on it.
No.
Good. And when you get to the warehouse, drive into the yard and load yourself up a dozen. That should net you around 350 quid and keep you ticking over till the insurance cough up. So what you say, eh?
Well, I haven't got much choice, have I?
Oh, now, don't be like that. We made a bargain, didn't we? And now I'm giving you an unexpected bonus. The typewriter's all loaded up, Mr. Carter.
Martin, what are you doing here? I thought you were in Broadstairs.
I was. It's carnival night, big fancy dress ball. Don't think I'll be missed for a couple of hours.
But why take the risk?
That's a good question, Carter. Very good question. You know, I think you're right after all.
What about?
This business of swapping fires. Bit dicey. You're not really cut out for it, are you? Nervous type. So let's forget it, shall we?
Yes, but my van, it's loaded up with the typewriters.
Leave 'em. You see, I got hit with a much better idea. A burglar.
Burglar?
And a nice little accidental fire.
I don't know what you're getting at.
I mean, just look around this warehouse. An awful lot of inflammable stuff. Spirit-based inks, large bottles of correcting fluid. Now, supposing a burglar breaks in. It's dark, and he upsets one of them. Like this.
What on earth are you doing?
Now, supposing too. He's an ignorant sort of bloke. Takes out a fag and lights one. Well, with all this vapour about, woof! Up he goes in a cloud of smoke and the warehouse with him. Nothing left but his charred remains, plus lighter and cigarette case. Providing there's no name on him and he's not carrying a wallet. Doubt if they'd ever identify him.
But how could you arrange that?
How? I already have.
What?
You broke into this warehouse, didn't you?
Me? No. I used your key.
Yes, but I forced a window.
What? But why?
Wake up, Carter. Why do you think?
What's that? What have you got there?
A spanner.
Are you mad? Keep away from me.
Now, you have got yourself into a corner, haven't you?
Martin, for God's sake.
It'll look as though you've been hit by the falling debris.
But my van.
I'll dump it somewhere. They'll think you had an accomplice who panicked when the fire started.
No, Martin, please.
No, I'm quite safe, so don't you worry your little head about me.
I'll get good.
Now, cigarette case. Light up. And toss the cigarette towards the broken bottle. There she goes.
We haven't moved them, Q. Perhaps I should say the charred remains. Not a very pleasant sight, I'm afraid.
No, never is. Any idea who he is?
Not a clue at the moment. Looks to me like a breaking and entering job. In spite of the fire, it's clear this window's been forced.
Oh, yes. Who owns this warehouse?
Mr. Martin. He was down in Broadstairs for the weekend. He locked up personally on Friday evening.
The dead man find anything on him?
Not much. Cigarette case, lighter, what's left of a comb and handkerchief.
Travelling light, wasn't he?
Oh, burglars usually do. What do you make of it, Q?
Well, the seat of the fire seems to be over here. Yes, the floor is deeply charred.
Oh, found something?
No. Smell this debris.
Oh, it's like pear drops.
Yes, ethyl or amyl acetate. I wonder what was stored down here.
We can soon find out. The owner's on the next floor. He's itemizing his losses. This way, Q. Oh, Mr. Martin?
Yes, Inspector?
This is Mr. Barnaby, our fire expert.
Oh, how do you do?
How are you?
Feeling pretty low. Not much to salvage from this lot.
Were you fully insured?
Yes, thank heavens.
I'd like you to give me the general layout.
Oh, sure. Top floor, mainly soft goods, paper, carbons, wrappings, tags, that sort of thing, you know. This floor, metal goods, mainly. Anything from paper clips to a duplicating machine. And then down below, the ground floor, mostly liquids, inks, lubricating oils, correcting fluids.
They have an acetate base, haven't
Yes,
they?
most of them.
Well, you carry on, though I may want another word with you.
Oh, I'll be around. The insurance company asked me for a complete inventory.
Well, it's only a guess, Robbie, but from the position of the body, it looks as though he may have upset something inflammable and then lit a cigarette.
Well, his hands weren't too badly burned. We'll soon know if he had a record. I'm going back to the yard to wait for the path report. Where will you be?
Well, I'd like to have a good look around here. I'll probably be here for another hour or so.
Oh, Mr. Barnaby, didn't realise you were still here.
Well, I'm through now.
Me too. Bit of a job remembering all this stock, but I don't think I missed anything.
Is that your inventory?
Yep.
May I look at it?
Why, you can have a copy. I've done it in triplicate.
Oh, that's wise.
Here you are.
Thank you. You certainly have got a good memory, Mr.
Oh,
Martin.
but only claim for what was there. Cross me heart, I know insurance companies of old.
Oh, you've had other fires, have
Oh,
you?
no, this is my first and I hope my last. But I was once with the Auxiliary Fire Service and met quite a few assessors. And from my experience, they never miss a trick. Oh, the dust. Won't be sorry to climb into a bath.
Well, before you go, Mr. Martin, there's just one or two questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
You were down at Broadstairs at the weekend?
Yes, I try and get away when I can, especially if the weather's nice.
Where'd you stay?
The New Royal. It was Carnival Week. Oh, we had a big do Saturday. Fancy dress ball. I went as a clown. You should have seen me make up the lot.
When did you hear about the fire?
Oh, not till Sunday afternoon. My Char knew I was at Broadstairs. The police phoned and they seemed to think that bloke they found was a burglar.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I interrupting?
Oh, that's okay.
Well, I had a call from Robbie. He said you might still be here. He'd like to see you.
Oh, what's up?
Well, I don't know, but it sounded pretty urgent.
Ah, glad you're here, Q. Our burglar was dead before the fire started.
Before?
There's no carbon monoxide in the bloodstream. If he'd been alive during the fire, he'd have breathed in some smoke, wouldn't he? This man was murdered, Q.
But how?
Oh, some blunt instrument. There's a nasty skull fracture.
Why choose a warehouse?
I wouldn't know. It might have happened during a robbery.
You've checked his prints?
Yes, he's not on file, no record.
What about his clothes?
Not much left of them, but seem to be of good quality. Oh, excuse me.
Sure.
Inspector Hackett? What? Whereabouts exactly? Well, how long's it been there? I see. What do you mean, stationary items? How many? Well, they might have come from anywhere. It's a long shot. Yes, all right. Get a full team over there right away.
What was all that about?
A small van was found abandoned in Kentish Town. A dozen typewriters in the back. It might be a coincidence, but I think we ought to take a look, don't you? Well, there they are, Q. A dozen brand new typewriters.
Any fingerprints in the driver's cabin?
No, the whole vehicle's been wiped clean, all very professional.
Do you think you can trace the owner?
Well, as you can see, the plates have been removed, but we're checking the engine serial number. We ought to have something before long.
Good. Of course, the van may have been stolen.
Yeah, more than likely. Look, I'm going back to my car in case a call comes through.
Oh, Val.
Oh, yes, Q?
Those typewriters in the back of the van, they're made by International. Take the serial numbers, check with the firm. Find out who they were supplied to, will you?
And when?
Exactly.
Aren't we encroaching on Robbie's territory?
Well, he's got enough on his plate, so get cracking. There's a good girl.
Right, you're the boss.
I think you were right, Q. Looks as though the van was stolen.
Oh?
It was supplied to some furniture company. I've got the details here. Hexton Furniture Limited, Director Charles Carter.
Well.
Why, you know him, Q?
Yes, I know him, all right.
What do you know about him?
Well, it's just a hunch. But grab yourself a couple of your fingerprint boys and let's all pile into my car.
What's the idea?
I want to call in on our Mr. Carter. I hope I am wrong, but I have an odd feeling that we're not going to find him at home.
I found the caretaker, Q.
When did he last see Carter?
Not since Saturday. And from these milk bottles and newspapers, he certainly hasn't been home.
Did your boys get some good prints?
Plenty. Cigarette box, door handles, more than enough. They'll phone as soon as they've made a comparison. But if it was Carter in the warehouse, what the devil was he doing there?
Well, before I answer that one, I'd like to be sure it was him. Meantime, take a look at these bank statements.
That's quite an overdraft.
Yes, isn't it?
Oh, I'll take it. Yes, Hackett speaking. Yes? Yes, I've got that. Fine. Thanks for being so prompt. Goodbye.
Well?
I'm afraid those prints were identical, Q. That was Carter's body in the warehouse. No doubt at all. Do you know a man called Carter, Mr. Martin?
Carter? Oh, yes, I know several Carters. There's retail stationers, and now who's the other one? Oh, yes, Inks. Mainly imported stuff, Indian, that sort of thing. Don't do a lot of business with them, though.
No, this is a Mr. Charles Carter, in furniture.
Oh, no, I don't know anyone in that line.
You've never supplied him with any stationery?
No, but you can easily check. Everything goes through my account. I'm not one for fiddling. Anyway, who is this bloke?
The man we found in the warehouse.
Well, I don't get it. If he's in the furniture game, why would he break into my place?
Yes, Mr. Martin, that's exactly what we'd like to know. Well, that's an interesting theory, Q, but how do you start to prove it?
Well, look at Carter's overdraft. I'll take a bet Martin's in the red, too.
Who isn't these days? But that doesn't make one a fire raiser.
Yes, but there are too many coincidences. Carter was at Westbourne.
And Martin was in Broadstairs.
Or so he says, but it was carnival night. He could easily have slipped away.
But prove it.
Look, if Carter didn't know Martin, or vice versa, why did he break into the warehouse?
Well, the insurance company wouldn't pay up, so he thought he'd try a spot of burglary.
And how did the van get to Kentish Town?
Well, maybe he had an accomplice.
Do you really believe that?
No, of course I don't. But shoved Martin in the dock, and that would be his defense.
Well, I'm pretty certain they decided to swap fires. And then something went wrong. Perhaps Carter tried to back out.
You may be right. But with so little evidence, I can't see us getting much further.
Well, isn't that nice? My employer making me coffee for a change.
And now that you've arrived, you can take over.
Well, that's gratitude. I traipse all the way up to International Typewriters, collect copy invoices, delivery notes.
Well, I could have saved you a journey. It was Carter's body we found, and it was Carter's van. So there's little doubt those typewriters were from Martin's warehouse.
Yes, they delivered 24 on Friday. It's a pity, really. If only they'd have left it till after the weekend, it would have saved the insurance a tidy sum.
24, you said? On Friday?
Yes. Here's the delivery note signed by Martin.
See.
Oh, what's wrong?
That list of goods that was in Martin's warehouse. He gave me a copy. Where is it?
We're in the file.
Oh, come on, get it out, honey.
Here we are.
Let's see. Yes, this is interesting.
Maybe so, but I'm far more interested in that coffee.
Well, you shall have it, Val.
Don't strain
Drink
yourself.
up, my pet, then we're going back to that warehouse. I think you've given me the answer.
Well, I think that's the lot, Q. Can't see any more typewriter frames.
How many have we got now?
Oh, well, let's see. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11... Yes, a dozen exactly.
That's what I thought.
Yes, but it's exactly what's on Martin's list, so he's been quite honest.
Yes, indeed. Now, just contact Robbie while I call Martin. I'm afraid this is one case where honesty was not the best policy.
Sorry I've been so long, Mr. Barnaby. Had a job to get a cab.
Oh, I've been kept busy.
So I see. Been checking my list, have you?
Yes, and the debris.
Well, I promise I won't claim for anything that wasn't in the warehouse.
Well, perhaps you'd just confirm something for me, would you?
Sure, anything. I've got nothing to hide.
On Friday afternoon, you took delivery of 24 typewriters from International. This is your signature, isn't it?
Yes, that's mine.
Good. Now, you know that man we mentioned, Carter?
Oh, furniture bloke.
Yes. Now, in the back of his van, we found a dozen portable typewriters.
Well, they weren't portable.
Weren't they? And how did you know that, Mr. Martin?
What?
That the typewriters in the back of Carter's van weren't portable.
Oh, well, there's been talk of a burglary, so naturally I thought they'd come from here, and my lot were large office typewriters.
Of which you received 2 dozen?
Yes.
Then why have you only claimed for 1 dozen?
Well, as I said, there's been a burglary, and there was a dozen missing.
But you made out this list before the van was found. So how did you know they were missing? And you did. Look, here's that list you made out. You've only put down 1 dozen typewriters.
Yeah, so I did. Silly.
Very. If you knew what was in the van, then you must have known Carter.
Yes, bad slip, that. Almost as bad as yours.
Mine?
Giving me back this list. If I destroy it and my copies, where's your case?
Here.
Oh, no. Just not quick enough, Mr. Barnaby. Now, all I have to do is put a quick light to it, and hey, presto, up it goes, just like the warehouse.
Yes, that was very efficient, Mr. Martin.
What the...
But I'm sure Mr. Barnaby's secretary is even more efficient. Am I right, Q?
Indeed, Robbie. Val photostats all incoming documents without exception.
She what?
Why so surprised, Mr. Martin? After all, even I could have a fire.
That was Robert Beatty as Q Barnaby and Gudrun Ure as Val in Charge Remains, written by Philip Levine.